is happening? How we doing, YouTube? Pass the prop back here again. We're rolling today. We're into week 6. We're ready to go here for Sunday's huge action. Obviously, we got another international game. But joined always by my guy, Stu. How we doing, man?
Yeah, no, I don't want to start off on a rant. I was going to go off. I don't like the London game. We don't got to do all that. Positive vibes. We're feeling good. The show has been going absolutely fantastic recently. Couldn't be more happy to be here. I see a couple of familiar faces in the chat already getting fired up. They know what's been going on. We know what's been going on. We got a great slate today. We already touched on it on Wednesday a little bit with the look ahead. A lot of fun stuff to talk about. Some really high totals to talk about. I mean, I really like the plays we got. Really like our chances that continue in this run today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Obviously, we'll probably talk a little bit. More about your team in this matchup as well. It's probably one of the bigger games on the slate. I know I have there's that one with the high total. We have the Cowboys with a high total, which I have a game play in that one as well. So should be fun. Obviously, give you guys a little bit to pop in here. Stu, what did you think about the game last night?
I mean, I'm glad I won my bet. I did not watch that much of the game. I need to definitely sit down and rewatch that one. So I don't have too many thoughts on the game, to be honest. My thoughts are I'm very happy that Kenneth Walker cashed my bet, but it's also very interesting that Charbonnet keeps getting stuff done in the receiving game. I don't know how sticky this usage is forever for Walker. Like, I'm glad we cashed. We got it at the end. I don't know if he's going to be like, because the closing number, I don't know if you saw, we got it at 18.5. It was 21.5, which I predicted at the end of the show when we did our quick recap. I said I'd play it to 21.5. It's going to be there. On my shitty credit local book, it got up to 25.5 a couple minutes before. They fully juiced that, and then of course he goes over. So I would be careful kind of chasing that again next week, especially an adjusted number. That's probably the main thing that sticks out to me. But hey, very glad to cash that bet. Keep the good times going. I don't know about you. Whenever you announce something, this is kind of gambling Twitter. It's just how it goes. Whenever you celebrate a good couple of weeks, you post, you do a little flexing or whatever, you share your success. That's always when the gambling gods come and just punch you in the face. So I'm sitting there yesterday. We got a bunch of CLV, just had a little, celebration. I was thinking we're going to get crushed here. There's no way the gambling gods, let us keep going. And it keeps on going. So I'm feeling good. I'm excited, ready to keep it going today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ready to roll for today. We might as well just get into that quick recap there. And we'll start out with yours.
Yep, we got Kenneth Walker over 18.5 receiving yards. Got the job done right here. Obviously, not sweat-free necessarily. Made us wait a little bit here, but got the job done nonetheless. And like I said, even if you did get at that 21.5, which it was by closing time, still went over that number fairly easily. So good to see that everyone cashed this ticket.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And obviously, we had to wait 2 days for mine. Phillies first 5 plus 1.5. Ranger Suarez did what Ranger Suarez does, man, in the playoffs. Did very, very well. Ended up even cashing the first 5 for the Phillies money line there. So felt great about that one. And Geno 225. And I say this all the time, man. It's Geno in prime time. The dude just makes you money. He even tried to get the touchdowns. I mean, he even tried to get over the 1.5 touchdowns in that market as well. So feeling great. Obviously, betting Geno. This is my 3rd time already this year. It's week 6. So shout out Geno for just being a dog for us as always.
Oh yeah, he's the king of prime time too. And if you were listening, if you audio, if you were in here committed with us, you got that Lockett 30+ yard catch at the end as well, which cashed with my guy Geno. That was always fun. Get another plus 300 cash. Those Bet365 specials back-to-back weeks now. So hopefully for those primetime games, I'll keep trying to find little things like that. But shout out Geno. He keeps on cashing tickets for the show, man. He's definitely in the past the prop Hall of Fame at this point, no doubt about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we get to head to another pretty great slate, but we get to talk about how we've been doing. 66% right now, guys. 26-13, 18 units profit right now. We're feeling pretty damn good about where we're at there. And hopefully you guys have been tailing on these because obviously we don't go on 9-1 runs very often. We don't go on runs with, plus 850s, plus 600s mixed in there very often. So hopefully you guys have been there with us and have been rolling with us on these.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't really ask for much better start. Obviously, like you said, even started first unit. I believe your first week we were down a unit or two. Ebbs and flows of the season, obviously, and to bounce back like this is always nice. Like you said, it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows, but we've been doing this for 3 years, and there's been a lot of sunshine, a lot of rainbows, not too many stormy days. So excited to keep it going. Like I said, we're still in that like great part of the year where there's so many unknowns, there's so many questions. Like the lines are absolutely not as sharp as they're going to be in week 10, week 12, whatever. So definitely excited to kind of keep striking while the iron's hot and keep taking advantage.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we get to talk about a great slate. So 6 minutes in, we got 35 you guys in here with us. If you could hit that like button, we'd really appreciate it. Let's kind of talk this slate a little bit. We talked about our favorite games there. I guess we can start out with some dogs. I won't even let you talk the Commanders just because it should be like 10, but it's all right. What game do you want to talk about there for your underdog pick?
Yeah, I mean, it's for me. I mean, it's got to be the Commanders, man. It's got to be the Commanders. That's the underdog pick of the week. I don't know I can't go any other direction. I mean, maybe the Panthers. Honestly, that's not a bad one. You guys know I don't love the Falcons, especially at margin. This could be a time for Andy Dalton to kind of bounce back, but I don't know, man. I guess maybe I should stay away from the Commanders. Are like, I'm gonna have the bet, obviously, that those are my guys. So we're gonna go with the Panthers. We'll mix it up a little. I won't go biased. I'll go with another kind of big underdog. I'm actually liking some of the other favorites, like even kind of the more popular ones a little bit. But I do like the Broncos. I think might be one people bring up a lot. I've been very pro Broncos, but I kind of like the Chargers off a bye week. Like I like the Lions as favorites, even on the road. Your Packers is an interesting one. I'm curious if you're going to go Cardinals or not. That was going to be my guess for what you went with. But I think the Panthers, I think Deontay Johnson probably is a good game. I think they can cover this one, at least maybe a grimy backdoor cover.
Yeah, no, if I had to pick one, I don't want to go against my Packers, so I won't. But am I being weird for jumping on this Drake May train here on this first week at a 37 total, 7 points? That's a fat total for 37-point game. You're in New England. It's going to be just an absolute shit show. You got no Nico Collins, Joe Mixon at a limited capacity. I mean, 7 points, man. I've already cashed the Patriots once as a dog already this year. But, man, dude, how do I not here? That's a huge number for that low of a total. I think I kind of have to go there. I think that's where I'm going to be going today, where I want to be rolling with.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one for me just because the O-line, D-line mismatch is so significant in this game, right? Where it's one of those situations where I almost, rather than betting aside, I think I'm just going to bet Texas defensive touchdown and keep it moving. Like, honestly, I think like Drake May is going to be running for his life. He's going to have to throw a decent amount. He's going to be forced to drop back. Like, this Texans team definitely has some problems. Obviously, down Mixon, down Nico Collins. Stephon Diggs on the outside at this point in his career is not someone I'm really fully trusting. And then Tank Dell has clearly not looked 100%. So there's clearly holes on this Texas offense. My thing is just like, what if that D-line just destroys them all game? Because all year long, they've been absolutely destroyed on the offensive line. Pretty much, it's not even arguably, they're the worst offensive line in football. So going up against a team that can get pressure, got a couple different guys that can get after you. I think I just like a defensive touchdown in that one. Some props will be interesting, but it's really limited right now. But definitely think that's going to be one I have to watch. Normally you stay as far away from a Patriots game as possible, but Drake May is definitely someone worth tuning in for.
Yeah, man, it's just tough because, like, again, it's just like when I was talking about the Juju stuff, right? Like, it just to click it, just to click it just makes you feel gross. But if you just like take it out and just like not look at it, like, I'm not betting the Patriots. I'm betting a team that's 7-point dogs in a 37-point total at home. Right? I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm not doing it for any sort of talent on the Patriots side. It's just, I don't know about the big plays. I don't see Stephon Diggs just being over the top, being a big play guy right now. You got no Nico Collins to stretch the field. They haven't really been using Schultz that well outside of like these games where it's just he's getting attacked and running for his life and having checkdowns. And I still don't think Tank Dell's fully healthy yet. Just kind of looks a little bit, doesn't have that full burst that I'm used to seeing from him. So just on my end, that's kind of what I'm looking at there. So just so you know, I'm not actually just betting. I'm not betting these guys because I think they're good. So let's get it rolling here, Stu. Let's take a look at the chat here first before we get into our plays. Sportsway, we welcome back. We like to see it. Yeah, I hope so. Hopefully they can keep going. Make that book a couple chapters longer on this. We got a straight sniper in here. I'm assuming that's a dog play. Is that an underdog play or what is that?
Walker, I think. I assume that's a nickname, maybe like K. I don't
when
know.
I hear K9, it's just straight dog. So I'm like thinking underdog, and we were just talking underdog. So I don't know what you're saying, but hey, either way, hopefully they both cash. Or if it was Kenneth Walker, it did cash here. The Jags +2 is kind of pushing dog of the week, man. I think they're still what?
That's what I was thinking too.
They're a little bit too low. Like I don't even know. Are they even plus money?
They are. I think they're probably the right side with these injuries in the Bears secondary, because that's obviously like Lawrence can get it down the field with Johnson probably on one of the two outside guys. Like one of them could pop off, but that's a disgusting game. And I hate London. I obviously I hate these London games. They're always so ugly. So I wouldn't hate on this dog pick, but probably just pretty much a stay away from me.
Yeah, it's kind of gross. I don't know if I can bet an under on Kirk anymore, bro, just because I've been making too much money with this guy. Last week I bet yards, catches a 60-yarder. Week before I bet catches, dude's just catching. So it's like I'm also biased. I'm a big Christian Kirk guy. I have him in a lot of fantasy, a lot of best ball. So I don't like betting anything on Kirk unless it's positive. But that's just me. That's one of my boys. So anything there for you at all?
Well, his receptions was my one losing play last week. Over 4.5 got hooked. So screw Christian Kirk for that. But on a real note, I do think I would lean the over before the injury report. But now that we're down 2 corners and Johnson will probably not be on him, he'll probably be on the outside, likely on either Thomas Jr. or maybe occasionally Gabe Davis. Like those slot routes, I think become a little bit more valuable. So before the injury report, I was in on the under for sure, but now that's a really good secondary. And when you're down 2 pieces, like you're asking for other guys to step up a little bit more. So I would lean on the under, but I will probably not be playing it with the updated injury report.
It's also tough for me because like I know everybody thinks that Bigsby is now like good. But
he is good.
I'm not buying
I watched him in college too. We both.
I don't know if I buy it.
In college,
I need more than one game. I need him more than one game, bro. But you're gonna tell me if ETN's not playing this week, right? He's questionable. If he doesn't play, Bigsby is not a freaking bell cow back. He is not gonna be that guy.
Well, they've never used a bell cow on this team. So
okay, but if ETN's out, who are they gonna use? Who's behind him? Who are they gonna use?
But they'll use somebody. Like I don't remember who the third is. That you're absolutely wrong, because in past years they've had ETN healthy, they've had Bigsby healthy, and they've still gone to these third string losers. Like they've still used them. I don't even
remember their third string back.
They used a special teams guy last year a bunch for carries. I forget his name, and then there was a scat back as well. Like they used multiple other guys. Maybe someone in the chat can help us out. I don't know if they're still in the squad or not. But this was a team that like consistently used multiple backs. So I don't think Bigsby's going to get 18 carries ever. But if we're asking if he's good or not, he's been the most efficient running back on a per touch basis this season so far. Broken tackles, 10-yard gains. Like he's been really good this season. So there's no.
I'm gonna make sure I have this ready. I'm gonna have this ready because I am ready to take my lap because I know it's not gonna fucking happen because the dude does not play enough to do that. But I'm looking at it.
What are you going to take your victory lap over? I'm just saying he's good, and
I don't think he is. I don't think he is.
I know because you hated him in college 4 years ago. So did I. But we got to react to some new information. He's been really fucking good this year. We've talked about.
I mean, yeah, but like how many? I'm okay. How many touches? You know, like I need to see him do it like more than one game.
That's why he's a very hard guy to bet on. Like for me, I would bet on Bigsby this week, but it would only be longest rush because I have no clue how many touches he's actually going to get. We don't know if ETN's going to play. We don't know what's going to go on this week. So I don't even know what you're going to screenshot in victory lap. I'm just arguing that he's
it has to be if ETN's out. I'm not doing it if he's
We'll see what the lines are set at. I mean, we could bet each other, but once again, I'm not betting him like 68 yards. Like something like that's fucking insane. Like because he's not going to get the touches, but something like longest rush is absolutely going to be what I'm into.
So these guys were the starters. I'm assuming what you're talking about is the Johnson dude.
They had Johnson and they had
Dearness.
They had a special teams guy too, though.
That's who that is.
No, there's definitely another guy last season, 100% positive.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was
showtime right now. We can keep arguing later, but
I mean, I'm looking at last year's numbers now. I just pulled it up. Dearness Johnson, 41 carries. The other guy with any carries is Jamal Agnew.
There you go. He had
3 touches.
And he got the short passes too, though. But Johnson, how many 45 you said over the course of the year? Weren't you just saying a minute ago that no one else was touching the ball? Like
Jamal Agnew has 18 touches in 18 games. He had 4 carries, 14 targets.
Player, that's not bad for a special teams.
So he had 12 total. He had 8 catches, 4 rushes in how many games? 17 games.
As the 4th running back behind also Johnson. What about you? Just said Johnson,
but they were using Johnson as like that flex, the guy on the slot.
So he doesn't count either.
You can't use. How do you use Agnew here though? Like if you're saying that he's going up
as someone that I bet because he had a couple carries last year. That was just off the top of my head. I'm not saying he's an entrenched running back. I'm saying this is a team that was willing to give multiple people carries last year, even when the starters were healthy. So, I don't think Bigsby's ever going to get this bell cow role. I just think he's going to be efficient on a per-touch basis going forward. And he should be the one getting 14 touches a game, not ETN. ETN's fucking suck. How about you fucking do something in the league? One guy is living on draft capital. The other guy fucking sucked in college and has actually done something since then, actually breaking tackles. We got to see something from ETN for me to believe he should be getting more carries right now than Tank Bigsby. Go look up Tank Bigsby. He's breaking the scales on some of these per-touch metrics so far this year. Obviously, that's not sustainable. You're not going to break 1 million tackles all year, but he's been the better guy this season. And once again, Hasty. There we go. I don't know how many touches Hasty got. He was on that team too, right? That's another guy. I'm pretty sure they used him. I don't 100% remember. And this does not need to be a Jacksonville arguing podcast. But yeah, that's what I'll say. I like Bigsby. Even though in the past hated Bigsby, and longest rush is definitely something I'm looking at this week.
Yeah, I don't even see him on here last year.
He might have been the year before. I don't remember. But I think
that's the thing, though, is they gave him 340 opportunities last year. ETN.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. That dude's a bell cow back. That's more than 99% of NFL running backs.
Yeah, maybe on the full season, but
267 carries.
You drafted ETN last year. You were not fucking happy with it. He was not a startable week-to-week guy. That takes away your own fucking argument here. You were not.
Okay, go back to last year. How many bell cow backs are there in the NFL?
I don't know. More than ETN.
6?
What do you want? Probably 8, maybe.
If I can, I'm just saying this dude is literally getting 340 opportunities with targets and carries.
And now he's losing touches to Tank Bigsby.
But that's what I'm saying. They do use him as a bell cow. That's literally what I'm saying. If ETN goes out and they have to use Bigsby, they're not using a 3rd, 4th dude. He was good. ETN was not bad, bro.
I mean, I wouldn't say good.
This year, no, I agree. I have him in fantasy. He sucks. He's not doing well this year. But I'm saying ETN literally had 340 touches last year and was good for running back standards. I'm looking at NFL wise. Let's just get this going because I feel good about my side. I know you feel good about your side. So we ain't gonna go ahead.
Yeah, drop in the comments. Tank Bigsby good or not? This is weekly segment going forward here.
But let's get it. Let's get this rolling. We'll get. I'm trying to see if we have any other questions in here. I don't think so. Another guy on Kirk unders. All right, let's go. Time to go. Let's do it, Stu. Take it away.
Whew. All right, nice little transition here into the player props. I'm gonna actually be dropping my first combination prop of the year. Obviously, you've gone to those a little bit more than I have, but I do really like this spot right here, especially. I did a couple things with Jake Ferguson this week, but I think this 4 catches number is really, really bad. It's currently on FanDuel. Obviously, FanDuel, is the place, the alt line king of the world. But you can get this combination on Bet365 as well, and you should be able to on Caesars unless they took the markets down. But pretty much Ferguson last week was minus 300. when his catch line was 4.5, right? And it was sitting at, minus 120, minus 130 for most of the week. We've now seen the catch line move up to 5.5. It's plus money, no longer juiced anymore. But despite a full adjustment in a yard right here, we really haven't seen much movement in the alt line, which is still sitting at minus 320, which in my opinion is like clearly the best value alt line like of any I've looked at so far this week with Ferguson. I think having one of the highest projected floors of any player on the ceiling, and that's the whole point of going to these alt lines, is it's a little bit easier to project floors than it is, median outcomes right here. And going up against the Lions team in a 52-point total without Brandon Cooks, a situation where Dak is thrown for over 350 passing yards in 2 of his last 3 games, going up against the best rush defense in football, and you got Ezekiel Elliott back there and Rico Dowdle. Those aren't going to be the ones that mix it up. Those aren't going to be the ones that, finally take down this team. Kenneth Walker obviously did a fantastic job last week. I have a very strong feeling that the Lions bounce back and take care of business against those 2 guys on the ground. I think they can score comfortably. All this to say, there's going to be a lot of passing in this game from Dak Prescott. Like, I know we're going to get into that a little bit more later in the show, but Ferguson, man, as such a safe floor, he's coming off his highest 3 targeted game span in his career, 7 targets, 11 targets over his last 3 games coming in. This is incredible. Ferguson is getting peak value. And I went off on a rant about it last week. It's because the Cowboys were built terribly. There's nobody to take pressure off of CeeDee Lamb on this team. Tolbert finally stepped up a little bit last week. That was good to see. I'm hopeful he keeps that going. Again, I think I was hoping I'd actually play his yards in the 30s, but it's in the 40s. So they were kind of ready for that. Turpin is a good little over the middle kind of short guy, but Ferguson, we're kind of baked into 7 targets once again here. And this is the best game script, right? Once again, we're talking about 3 fantastic weeks back to back. We now get the best possible matchup here in a very high flying game and a team that honestly, I feel bad for Cowboys fans. You're going with a budget defensive line, like no Parsons, multiple injuries on the interior defensive line. They got their center back. This is one of the best offensive lines in football. They're going to just destroy this game on the trenches, and the Cowboys are going to have to respond. So I do love Ferguson as a guy that's going to be, huge in taking advantage of that. I like his props in pretty much whatever way you can get them. I did parlay him here in this combination with Zach Ertz to get 3 catches. First time betting on Ertz this season. He's over in 4 of 5 games. But funnily enough, he missed in his highest targeted game of the year last week, where he only had 2 catches despite 8 targets against the Cleveland defense that seemed pretty locked in on him and about nobody else. They're playing good defense on him. He had a drop. There was a 40-yarder that Daniels just missed him on. There were some chances. But overall, seeing the 8 targets is really good. Why I like it even more here, though, is that this Ravens team, best rush defense in football, only team with a sub 3 yards per carry allowed on the year. I mean, they're in pretty much every advanced metric you look at, they're absolutely crushing. Will Washington be the team that breaks that curse? Maybe. They have a pretty good rushing attack. The offensive line is a little bit more suspect. The problem, though, Brian Robinson missing 3 straight practices. Austin Eckler already banged up. This is not a fully healthy running back room. I think even more pressure is put on Jane Daniels to throw in this game. Terry McLaurin's obviously the obvious guy that comes to mind, especially with how much the Ravens have kind of struggled with explosive passing. But we got to remember, Washington runs a lot. And they throw short more than any team in the league, right? They throw more screen passes than any team in the league, and they throw more in the short and intermediate than any team in the league. And then it kind of opens up a couple of deep shots a game. Who fits that more perfectly than Zach Ertz, especially in a game where you're going to even be able to throw a lesson? Because if you haven't watched these Washington games, the philosophy is essentially, let's get to 2nd and 7. Okay, let's get to 3rd and 3. Let's make these conversions as easy as possible. And it sounds silly, but they control pace. They march down the field, and it's worked against every bad defense they've been able to play. We'll see if that works against the Ravens. I have some thoughts. I'm not 100% confident, but if the offense isn't working, once again, we backfire. Okay, hit the safety blanket, hit the check down, hit the veteran tight end. I think there's so many different good arguments you can make for Ertz that he was just a great, parlay piece to go with Ferguson. I love both of these guys this week. Definitely two good targets in 2 very high scoring games.
Yeah, I will put my stuff in on Ertz when I talk about that game, which will be the next one, because I believe your other bet's in that game as well. So we'll just I'll go to the Cowboys game here just so we can kind of match them up, because I know we have a lot in the same game. Because, I mean, let's be honest, those are the 2 best games. There's it's not even really close, right? I mean, you look at Washington and Baltimore and the Cowboys Lions. I mean, the only other argument you could have is maybe the Jets Bills, just because of all this shit that's happening. That's pretty much the only three, and there's really no other argument or fight anywhere else because these totals are so high. Both of them have, the storylines and everything here, but I don't know how I pass on Prescott this week. I bet him at 271 yesterday on Rivers, and I felt like I was just sneaking that money, right? I just was sneaking it because how do you give it this line right here? If you look at last year's games, 274 yards per game at home. And I looked at him too, and he went 6-1 in his last home starts over this number. The first two were against, the Jets, who were pretty good last year defensively, obviously top EPA numbers in the NFL. And the next one was against the Patriots, who couldn't score, and their defense was pretty good because they were playing super slow. So those were the two misses to start the year. 6-1 after that. Obviously, you saw him against the Packers throw for 400 in that game. He threw for 400 against the Giants at home. He threw for almost 300 against Seattle at home. He threw for 345 against the same Detroit team last year. So at home again in that matchup. So this is really tough for me to not want to bet Dak because it's a dome. You get a dome no matter what. We also have the spot where this Lions front seven, dude, it's legit, man. You're just not going to run on it. Do I want to put – trust me, I made a lot of money last week on Rico Dowdle. I'm not going out there putting my money on Rico Dowdle this week to try to run through this front seven of the Lions. It's tough, and I do like that you brought up Tolbert. Obviously, I love Ferguson being a Badger guy. Love to see that finally they have some other people stepping up because you saw him throw another 42 times last week. Dak threw 42 times. And you can't just keep trying to force feed CeeDee Lamb and bracket, and you can't try to just do these 4-yard routes with Ferguson. But I like to see, like I said, Dowdle out of the backfield. We saw Turpin get some big plays as well, pushing that ball down the field. I don't know how involved he'll be this week, but just another guy, just like when you don't have Cooks and you're just forcing two dudes, the ball just even have a third or fourth option, even if they're further away for third or fourth option. I love taking Dak in dome spots. And also, I think this is the best pass funnel team you could get. And hopefully, they're trying to get Rico Dowdle the ball, but do it through the air, right? I think Dak's going to chuck this ball around like crazy today or on Sunday. Primetime spot. You're at home. I don't know if you saw his comments in the media saying, hey, we're not losing another game at home this year, and we're going to go to our bye week and feel good about it. So when I see that, I think Dak's chucking this ball around. His pass attempt line is 38 and a half. You don't see numbers like that. We've done this for a long time. You just don't. Those are just not normal numbers to see that they're expecting 40 pass attempts from Dak in this spot. And he put up the big game against the Steelers, who are a significantly better pass defense. They still got pressure on him. But I did like what I saw out of Dak in the fourth quarter last week. And if it's a close game and he's at home, I'm gonna roll with Dak to get it done here. I like the weapons and then finally coming forward even without Brandon Cooks.
Yep, I'm on Dak in a couple different ways as well with you. I'm so in on Dak this week. I mean, it you kind of covered it. We're on the same page. I just don't foresee a way that they can possibly move the ball. Whether you're ahead, whether you're trailing, throw out even all the game script stuff, just line to line on both sides. I don't see how they can run the ball, and I don't see how they can stop the run on the other side. So that's going to put you in a situation where you have to pass the ball. You have to make something happen. And it's not like it's a question mark. Once again, 350-yard games in 2 of his last 3. He is fully willing to sling it, even with the lack of weapons they have. I don't know if you mentioned last year he had that amazing game over 350. CeeDee Lamb had 200 himself. I mean, come on. This is the team you got to do it against. The Lions do not change. Cover one, a lot of man coverage. They dare these explosive plays to happen, and I think it's going to happen today. So fully with you. Love Dak Prescott this week. Last
thing I will say, and we talked about this Lions run game a lot. They're going to get chunk plays. I don't see this as 3-4 yard carries trying to get first downs, bro. This is David Montgomery punch you in the mouth twice and then Gibbs 20-yard play, right? I don't see this just being I feel like that's got to be the argument from the other side if you're trying to think about how this doesn't go our way is the Lions just hold time of possession the whole game. But I don't I don't see it, man. I think they're going to be able to run through this offense or this defense pretty big. And the Cowboys have a 24.5 total. That's not a small total. That's a pretty big team total on this slate. Outside of the two games we're talking about, majority, that's the highest. So I'm ready to go. I'm excited for this game. Thank God that they put them in separate windows where you have the Washington at noon and this one at 3:25, because these are two games you want to watch, and at least they split them up. At least the NFL is doing something right.
No, I fully agree. You look at this week, it's clear what the big screen games are. We always talk about that. Once again, Patriots, Drake May, they'll get a small screen. They'll be over with red zone. They'll get some attention as well. But yeah, clear, obvious, noon and 4 p.m. slate games, and this is going to be awesome. Like I said, got a lot on deck this week. Very excited for him and Ferguson to kind of pop off here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't know. I just saw something pop up on my Twitter when I just retweeted the show tweet that Sam Darnold, like the number one thing that popped up on my thing was Sam Darnold not being available to do comeback player of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that?
Yeah. Yep.
Fuck? How does that even work?
It's been known information since the beginning of the season, but it hasn't been very publicly written about. Essentially, after last year, the NFL said, we want this award to be about people that are injured and have come back from injury. So anyone else that hasn't had that journey, we don't want qualifying for that. This was written about before the season started, but for whatever reason, well, we know why. One, the general public doesn't know the stuff, and they'll bet on anything. And
they're betting on it. That's what I was going to say. They have to.
You give me my money. Exactly. Right. Sportsbooks will say, we know Sam Darnold can't win. That doesn't mean we're not going to stop moving that number down. And people were kept on betting it. So now it's finally been publicized enough. But yeah, he was never really in contention for that award, assuming, what the NFL said was true. It's looking like it's going to be a true injury kind of thing. So I will say J.K. Dobbins, he's probably worth $10. I think I'm going to toss $10 on him right now for that award. Just because I think he has a lot of potential for the rest of the season, and all these other guys and looking at the top that other people are betting on, they fucking suck. I don't want to bet on these guys. So, shout out Sam Darnold. Maybe you win MVP this year because you can't win this one, bud. You can't come back from sucking apparently anymore.
Dude, I have it's just so weird to see that. I'll go on ESPN just to check my Packers game logs or whatever, and it's like, who are we betting on in this game? And it's these fucking people talking on actual ESPN about bets that don't know anything about betting. And I just read it. I'm like, how is this even? From 2-3 years ago where ESPN tabooed betting out of all this shit. Now I see it, but I just want to see my Packers game log, bro. On what you're betting in this fucking game. I don't even. Oh my god, I don't watch ESPN anymore for that specific reason. All I wanted was to check a game log, bro. That's it. That's all I wanted. We still can't even do it. So
I probably average an hour of ESPN app screen time a day alone. That's the one I use the most. It's crazy to see even how it's changed over these last couple of years to the full betting lines and everything like that. I mean, who's asking for this shit? Same with TV. When I turn ESPN on, I want to hear either some smart people or some dumb people argue about sports. I'm cool either way. I get the dumb people arguing about sports isn't as fun, but that's the new reality. Now it's dumb people telling me what to bet on in sports. That makes me want to die. I can't just, because for me, ESPN's just casual background noise. You put it on, you hear them talk about sports, you get some work done, whatever. These people giving out the worst bets possible is enraging. I'm sitting there listening. I'm like, no, people are listening to this on their commute. It's very bad. It's the equivalent of he's gone over in 4 of his last 5. I think he's going over again today. What do you think, Bob? It's oh my god. But anyway, we've already ranted enough. We got to stay on schedule today.
That was not what we had on schedule, guys. This is not. We don't write this out and say we're going to argue and talk shit on this for a long time. It just comes up because it's infuriating. Last thing I'm going to say on it, just because I have to now that you brought this up and we talked about it. I was watching Dana White Contender Series. Obviously, you saw my bets in those. The guy on there, Yanni the Greek, pretty big, well-known bettor. Minus 400 bet you're going to put on here for people to go take? What are we doing? This dude's there's a reason why it's minus 400. No shit, you can say that, bro. You say that about anything, dude. Oh my God, sorry. I just can't stand it when they're professionals. No professional giving out minus 400, bro. You're not giving out a minus 400.
Once again, before we move on, Yanni the Greek gave out picks every year for a contender series one season and didn't win a single pick. He
Dude,
gave out
so
a
bad.
play for this is really hard to do. To give out a play for every single contender series card, every single fight, and not win one during the season is incredible. Like, he should be studied. And instead he's on fucking TV giving out picks to people who don't know any better, who are like, oh, that's a funny looking Greek guy in a suit. I can probably trust him. I don't know why you think that. But yeah, when that guy's on a bet I have, it's the fucking worst, man. It's the worst.
Oh, damn. All right, let's get to a couple questions here before we get to plays 3 and 4 of the day. We just talked this game. Any thoughts on Monty Gibbs' longest rush we have here? My thing is, I like Gibbs receiving always, too, so it's tough because I always have to do rushing receiving. I'll never take Gibbs by himself on just one of them, just because he's so explosive anytime he touches the ball, and they do a really good job, Ben Johnson over there, scheming him the ball in the best ways possible. So that's always my thought when we have these elite running backs. The same thing with McCaffrey. I'll do rushing receiving pretty much exclusively, because how pissed are you going to be when he goes off and has a 40-yard – like last week, David Montgomery decides he's getting a 40-yard catch when we have him on his rushing yards. Where'd it come from? But Gibbs does that way more often. So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that? That's just kind of how I think about it when we do these.
Yeah. I played like MGM had 13.5 on his longest rush, and everyone else had 15.5. So I played that. If it's still up, I like it. I like Gibbs' longest rush. I like Gibbs in general over Monty. I agree with what you're saying. My biggest thing is I like Gibbs against good pass rushes, right? So that's why I kind of liked it more last week. Or before their bye, sorry. But then we saw the pass rush fell apart, all those injuries, they couldn't get pressure. So there weren't really that many checkdowns. I kind of feel like the same thing might be the case here, where no Micah Parsons, you're down 2D linemen. I almost feel like with the lack of pressure, it might just be all run focused and a lot less receiving focused. So for me, I'd be more into Gibbs if I had more confidence in Dallas, honestly, in the receiving. But instead, I'll just stick to the rushing personally. But I do, and coming off a bye is big because Ben Johnson's really creative. He's in Madden mode sometimes. He takes risks. He has fun. Off a bye week, I could see him getting Gibbs some catches like 100%. So I did a little bit think about the under in the beginning of the week just because I'm not, like you said, not been getting as many, and then the pass rush concerns here. I thought about the under, but off a bye week, I would never do that with Ben Johnson. Like, he can get him involved in some really fun ways. So I'll just stick to the rushing personally.
Yeah, no, and I mean, that's the thing, though, is you could look at a 2-game sample, like we have Freaker talking about here, the 0 targets, like, yeah, and guess who was on the field for those? Montgomery was on the field for those catches this time. You know, like, it's when you have a timeshare like that, that's what makes these hard, but they're both such good backs, really good compliments for each other. That's why when you get to playoffs, they're scary to play. But during the year, it kind of sucks because you got to figure out the times where you want to use them and not. Last question, Mike Evans, under 59.5, a good bet with the yearly scuffle with Lattimore. You can use that narrative. Baker's just been playing really good. I also don't want to play this game at all because Spencer Rattler, no thank you. I will not make a bet in this game.
I'm curious about it too.
35-0, bro. They ain't scoring a fucking point. I'm going to bet alternate team total unders, bro. That team's going to get nuked. And I don't even think Buccaneers have good defense either. It's just –
well, okay, I'll say this. My argument for Spencer Rattler will be very simple. It'll be Derek Carr. And I've been even a little pro Derek Carr, so I've been on the other side of this. By most people, has been considered one of the worst quarterbacks in the league over this last year, dating back to last season. So for him to come in and have this fantastic start with this new offensive coordinator, and then they've come down to earth, they've looked a lot more like than Derek Carr over these last couple of weeks. I have a lot more confidence that in reality, this was more him being brought up than being, brought down by like a coaching staff. So Rattler doesn't have to be good to be brought up to like an okay level when for the last 2 years, people have been screaming Derek Carr is the worst quarterback in the league. So like Rattler's probably worse than Carr, yes, but it just kind of depends on how much worse you think he is. I think there's a chance they could run the fuck out of the ball, keep this close, get a bunch of motion going, and just ask Rattler to do the bare minimum. I think they could have a chance here, but it's a really hard one to bet. It's one I'm just going to be watching, but I do like him more than most people pre-draft. As just a guy with talent and a terrible personality, and it just seems like an awful person to be around that kind of hurt his draft stock a little bit, and like that really caused him to flame out and go to South Carolina. But he had some good throws. South Carolina bet on them a couple times. That's a different story. Should be a good one. I don't know. It's a kind of tough one for me. I would lean under because I think the game's going to be disgusting. Back to the question, but yeah, I'm very excited to watch that as well.
Oh yeah, I was. If you even had any positive thing to say about Rattler, you're higher than him than me. I was not a.
Do you see my argument though? At least do you see my argument of like?
No, I don't like Derek Carr either, so I get that, but it's just Xavier Legette in college was better than pretty much any cornerback he was facing. So like you know what I mean? Like when you have a guy like that who can just pretty much beat anybody one-on-one in college in that conference, like when he took a step up against competition like Clemson, he looked like a fish out of water, bro. Like, you know what I mean? But then Legette still got his because he's just better than the person going against.
No, I get that. He had one of the worst offensive lines in the country, though, as did Drake May as well, two guys who are kind of used to playing with no protection. So I don't know. I agree. My argument is just very simple. It's just like he could suck, and this offense still could be functional enough to like cover the spread, which is really what I know most people are concerned about. But yeah, I'm not going to be out here saying positive things quite yet. We'll keep that. Well, let's get a sample size first. The preseason was pretty good, but we can't do preseason victory laps. That's crazy.
Yes, sir. I'm going to get it to yours. I got to run to the bathroom quick, but I'm going to get you your play up here. Going against your team. I like to see it, and obviously I'll be talking about this game as well in my next bet.
Sounds good. We're going Derrick Henry, longest rush, over 16.5. We grabbed this at minus 115 on DraftKings right before the show. If you've been watching over the last couple weeks, you probably know this was going to be like my favorite play of the week, and it absolutely is. I was honestly curious what the number would be. I've been watching this number like a hawk for the last 2 days. Opened at 16, bet to 17, bet down to 16. And it's been a freaking pinball between 16.5 and 17. I have full confidence at 17.5. I would absolutely play it there, but DraftKings did have the 16.5 before the show. So that's what we ended up firing with. But if the number does move, I'm very good with it. We just bet Jordan Mason a week ago at 17.5. And the best running back of our time right now, the best explosive runner of our time is going to get a line lower or the same number. I mean, hey, Mason keeps getting the job done. No hate to him. Big shout out to him. But I mean, come on. Like, we're getting a great number here because I've talked about it. Longest rush to get above these 15, 16s is a little bit tricky, right? You're asking for a very, like a higher variance performance, I guess. But that's why these markets are so good to take advantage of, because not all running back production is built the same, right? You have your home run hitters, your guys that are more dependent on these explosive plays. And then you got a guy like Montgomery who consistently give you a 100-yard game, and you look at it, and his longest run of the game was like 13 yards. And you're like, how'd that even happen? He just keeps grinding those 7-8 yarders. Like, taking advantage of these stylistic running backs and these stylistic advantages is really one of my favorite things to do. And if you have been watching the show, you probably cashed a couple times already. James Conner was the biggest one of the year. We've gone longest rush in back-to-back weeks because so far every running back and backup running back has recorded or gone over their longest rush number. I forget if Jerome Ford was 14 or 15, but before Jerome Ford, everyone had at least a 15-yard carry against Washington. Washington is also conceding 15-yard carries at the highest rate in the league. 16% of running back carries against Washington go for more than 15 yards. That's the worst in the league. 20% go for more than 10 yards. That's the worst in the league. Shout out to Ryan Noonan for both of those stats. We collabed on it in the 4for4 Discord. We both talked about this pretty much on like Tuesday as being spots we absolutely loved. And for me, I mean, this has honestly been ingrained in my mind since I saw the schedule week 4. Like, if I'm playing Jerome Ford, a guy who I truly think is terrible, for his longest rush and his rushing yards, which we got lucky. We got a good game. We got garbage time, right? Garbage time is literally what saved us there. This is the complete opposite. Washington's now, for once, in a negative game script. All these running backs compiling these 15-yard runs have surprisingly not been in situations where they've been ahead of Washington, but they've been behind, so they haven't even been able to run as much. Washington is the biggest dog they've been, obviously, since week 1 here, 6.5 points. The Ravens have just gone through the ringer of teams, right? Back-to-back good teams. But Washington's taking care of business of pretty much like 3 of the worst defenses in football so far this year, and then the Browns, who are above average to middle of the road. Like, this is a kind of opposite situation here where like I don't even think like Washington's run defense is bad. And I know it's bad. And most of us know in general the defense is bad. But due to game script, we haven't actually even seen a situation where I think it's even been able to fully be exploited. But if they're up 7-0, if they're up 10-0, Washington is in a world of trouble because once again, Washington even kind of struggles to get pressure without blitzing. So in a lot of those snaps, they're going to be allocating that extra linebacker. A guy like Frankie Louvu, been a fantastic pickup, but his thing has always been great in the pass rush, but he's not really a well-rounded linebacker. Washington has really struggled with missed tackles this season. Derrick Henry is absolutely not the guy you want to go against when you're struggling with missed tackles, especially when you get to the second level. A lot of these Washington guys are younger. We got the Forbes, we got the Martin, they're skinnier. Like, do you really trust these guys to make open field tackles against Derrick Henry? I don't. 4 straight games with a 29-yard or more carry, and we're priced at 16.5. I mean, to be fair, I would have priced Derrick Henry if I was on the drafting side. As someone that bets these markets every day for the last couple of years, I would have had his probably the highest price I've ever seen. Like, I would have had it for an NFL, not college. Obviously, college is messed up now with what's going on. I would have had like a 19.5 or a 20. Like, I've never seen a line that high for longest rush, but we got to remember Derrick Henry gets a lot of his production on these explosive plays. He gives you these long stretches of, 4-yard, 5-yard, kind of slowly wearing down the defense. This is the perfect game script to do it. You're going against a team that struggles to tackle and lets up explosive plays at the highest rate in the league. The only reason this is priced at 16 or 17 is simply that's the average where it's always priced. That's what the algorithm spits out. Like, I really think this market is one I've been having a lot more fun in, really thanks to Washington's defense. That's helped open up my eyes and let me use this for a lot of other teams as well. But I love this matchup right here. We're going back to the well-famed Washington. No better guy to do it with an explosive run than Derrick freaking Henry. Let's cash 16.5, 17.5, whatever you got, we're running it.
Yeah, no, I think this kind of reminds me when we were talking about Seattle in their last time, right? Not this past prime time, the game before, where you talk about Kenneth Walker being that home run guy where he just like disappears. Obviously, Henry doesn't disappear. The dude's like 7 foot tall and 300 pounds. So you don't miss him, right? Because he's there every time. But like, there's just points in the game where you go on ESPN, you pop over to that game, it's 2-yard carry, Kenneth Walker. You're just like, man, okay, 2-yard carry, and then by the end of the drive, it's a 30-yard or touchdown. So definitely like the spot and like that game script. I will be talking about this game as well. And I'm going to be playing Jaden Daniels. I'm going to be playing his 200 passing yards. Hit this in every game but one so far. I like the buy down spot. In this one, I told you already, I do think the Ravens get ahead in this game. And I do think it's a little bit more of that smash mouth football on their side. I just don't think Washington's going to be able to stop it. And when we're in Baltimore, it kind of scares me off a little bit even more because I have a feel it's going to be rowdy. It's like the first time Washington's been good in a while in a matchup with these guys, right? So they don't play that often. Obviously, one's in the AFC, one's in the NFC, and they're pretty close in proximity. So I think it's going to be pretty rowdy out there. So I would much rather go to the guy like Lamar Jackson who's had experience in those types of games, like the Chiefs in game 1, right? You're at Buffalo multiple times, where it can get like that, right? So, but I do think Jaden Daniels has a good game. I do think that it's going to be more in like that comeback mode. Like, I think that I think it'll be close to covering here, in that range where it's just like 1 to 2 possession game that whole second half. But in that script, I do like Jaden Daniels to be on that dink and dunk down, Zach Ertz, having a couple of those shots downfield. I do like how they're finally pushing it down there. And also, Daniels is going to be in a spot where if he does get out of the pocket, I think he's going to be looking a little bit more to pass just because I have a feeling like, if you're Baltimore defense, you face the dude that can do exactly like that every practice.
Yeah.
But he's better. He's better at doing that. And they're going to – I just hope that they are like – these guys are going to probably be the most prepared of any team possible to take that rushing away because you have to deal with it in practice. So please fucking slide. Just get down, get out of bounds. Just don't try to push your luck in this spot because these guys, I feel they're going to be going and they're going to be trying to, hit them, and be like, hey, let's stay in the pocket, buddy. Let's push that ball downfield. Let's get those balls across the middle. So I do like it going in that passing range. I think that that's going to be exclusively where I bet Jaden Daniels this week. just because, like I said, if you're facing it all the time, you have to be used to, how do we stop it if we have somebody like that? So I really like Jane Daniels. I want to bet on McLaurin. I want to bet on all these guys, but that running defense, especially with Brian Robinson being a little bit banged up, kind of scares me a little bit because I think that he's going to have to throw a lot more than he's used to. And I know everybody's talking about his 77% completion percentage. I have an issue. I think they're going to throw the ball. I think they're going to have to throw it more than 30 times. I think that's his max out throw already. Arizona, he threw the ball 30 times. He did hit the 200 yards, which obviously I'm happy with, and hit it in 5 of the 6 games, 4 of the 5 games, whatever it was. But I have a feeling it's going to need to be a little bit more of those passing games. And if Brian Robinson is a little bit banged up and we get to see more Eckler, love that even more. If we get more Eckler, I love that even more because, that's what he's doing. Going over to the McBride side, facing off against my Packers here. I always like taking tight ends against my Packers. Usually they're not a team that give it up too much on the outside. Obviously, when Jair's not playing, it's a little bit different, right? And obviously, I expect Jair to play this week. It's been kind of back and forth on Twitter of what I've been seeing about it. I think he plays this week, but that's just me. He's at home, spot where he gets to, get the hype of Marvin Harrison Jr. out there too. So, again, I talked about this. I don't remember which game it was. I think it was the Kelsey bet that I had on Monday, where you just look at who they played, right? The Packers for tight ends. Who have they played? They played a TJ Hawkinson-less Vikings team with Joey Munt and I don't even know the other Oliver, I think. The Titans, they gave up 4 catches to the backup tight end of the Titans in that game. I have to pull it up because it's going to bother me now because I remember the backup getting more catches than Okongwu because I liked him. Josh Wiley, 4 catches in that game. And you just keep going up and down the list. They just haven't played any good tight ends. And then obviously Goddard, they were in Brazil, and Saquon Barkley went for 3 tutties in that game, and they just got absolutely torched by the Eagles there. And then you look at Parkinson, the only one with a competent tight end gets 7 catches in that game. I expect McBride to be a pretty big focal point here in this spot. I expect him to be having to move the ball across the middle here. I do like Kyler rushing in this game as well. That is another spot that I think I would take in this one. He's probably going to be running for his life a little bit. And also, I think that they're going to try and just run the ball in the first half. But the Packers have been so much better in the first half in terms of scoring this year. I think that's an important thing to say because last year I would take Jordan Love because they couldn't score in the first half. They've been scoring the ball in the first half. They're at home. I think they're going to get ahead in this game. And I think Shane McBride's going to be the biggest focal point of this spot here because I like this spot quite a bit.
Yeah, the Cardinals' offense has been a bit of a shit show for me this year.
Tyler's lost me so much fucking money. God damn.
Yeah, first quarter spread, first quarter team total, whatever, fine. Let's get those scripted plays. They seem to do that well. But the more I dive into it, I do have some concerns. But I do think McBride just kind of being a guy that can overcome any of those game scripts is kind of like that safety blanket, that arguably number 1 target. I mean, Marvin Harrison's great, but he's not. He's more of a boom or bust, deep threat guy at this point, which this is a good matchup for, by the way. Green Bay, a lot of cover 1, a lot of deep ball opportunities. He will get his, but we're talking about 3 to 4 deep shots a game, plus a couple other targets mixed in. There's still a lot of opportunity left on the table. Wilson's been okay so far, pretty good, but he's not really someone that either of us are too worried about. There's just still a ton of opportunity on the table. I don't see why McBride couldn't get 4 catches, especially in a game I expect him to be playing in behind. The Packers have been playing a little bit worse than I think the box score shows. They're really living on explosive plays. There hasn't been a lot of
turnovers too.
Exactly. Heavily on turnovers. I'm very curious to see how this game goes, but I do think that they match up well with Arizona. I think this could be kind of a good bounce back game just with Arizona's defense. I have a lot of confidence. What stops the running game from going over 100 yards here? I don't see why Jordan Love doesn't have at least 1 deep connection in this game, probably to Jane Reed. Dobbs is back as well. I think they're going to be playing from behind, forced to pass a lot. Obviously, do like Daniels. I think 200 passing is interesting because you spent your time talking about them trailing, which I agree. That's obviously the most likely game script that we're all projecting, that the sportsbooks are projecting. Their path to winning, though, also comes through the air. That's the thing you didn't really touch on. If they do if they do surpass expectations, if we do get a high variance outcome, it also positively benefits this bet because the way they win this game is not with Brian Robinson banged up going against the team only allowing a 2.9 yards per carry on the season, right? Like they're stuffing opposing running backs so far this year. Jeremy McNichols isn't going to be the guy that, bucks the trend. I like Jeremy. Maybe even gets a long shot touchdown bet this week. Could be a sneaky little, sprinkle there. But I think that's the thing that's not being accounted for here. If their path to winning is also him kind of having these explosive plays through the air, connecting on that deep shot to Terry McLaurin, and then keeping the defense honest with the checkdowns, with the screens, the horizontal stuff. But I do like the potential here.
Yeah, I almost just kind of skipped over it because if Brian Robinson's 50%, I don't know what they're not going to run Eckler. I don't see Eckler getting volume in the running game. Obviously, like he's been making big plays though. Shout out Eckler, bro. The dude gets the most out of every touch that guy gets. So, yeah, I mean, I see somebody talking about the under attempts and completions. I mean, I don't care if he goes under attempts or completion. I just think that they're going to still have those big plays, but I don't know, dude. I don't think they're going to be able to do anything else really offensively in this spot.
I wonder if that's like ETR. I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's probably because I would assume a lot of models showed both of these two teams as being very possession hungry, as being teams that love controlling the clock, establishing the run. Once again, though, Washington probably won't likely be able to assert that game script that they've been able to so easily so far. And then on the other side, I mean, they're allowing explosive runs at the highest rate in the league. So Derrick Henry, like we might not see that slow and controlled game. We might see these quick striking explosive plays. So I don't, I can see the angle for the under, but I'm definitely always, curious because that's probably not where I'd be betting Daniels this week. I think they're better unders to take advantage of if you don't like Washington as well. Once again, I don't know if B-Rob numbers will get posted. I know it was like briefly posted for a little bit, but like unders on him would be something I'd like a lot more.
Yeah, I think you could see a lot more of that behind the line of scrimmage screen type game for Daniels just to get the ball out of his hands here and slow down that pass rush a little bit. But again, that counts. Those are still yards for us, right? Those are still passing yards for us. So do like that spot here. We have David bringing up a question. Kyler Murray over 210. I will not bet Kyler Murray ever again. So that's mine. Do you want to bet anything in this one? I will not touch Kyler. If you want, take Kyler Murray yards in the first drive if you can, because he sucks after that. Dude. He sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not betting Kyler passing either. I don't really have any interest in that. I'd go, once again, I hate to keep doing this. I'd go to like longest completion instead. Now, I would want to bet on that jump ball with Marvin Harrison or connect on that deep pass or, yak play with one of these short guys breaking a screen. Like, actually, I'd probably just rather go to Harrison longest completion now that I think of it. Because there are normally when you want a longest like completion for a quarterback, you want like 3 to 4 guys, right? You want multiple guys you see breaking it. For me, it's probably Harrison, maybe Wilson, but they've used him less as a deep threat.
Yeah, he has not been going down the field.
It's weird. I don't like it because that's Dortch's job. And now Dortch just does nothing, which is like, okay, that's fine. But like, I don't know if Wilson does it better. Like, I would almost rather use his outside skills and use Dortch on the inside, but that's his new role, so that's not really a threat for deep targets. So it's a tough one for me. I do think they'll be in a trailing game script, but honestly don't have much of a read on that. 210 does seem like a low number, though. To be completely honest, it does seem like a low number, but I'm kind of with you. The inconsistency has burned me enough where I'm not really interested right now.
I mean, if you think this game is anything close, I would take James Conner rush attempts, bro, because they're going to run that thing right in between the tackles way more than they probably should. But that's what this game screams to me is first drive, they have a good first 10 scripted plays, and then it's just run the ball in between the tackles with James Conner. So that's all this really screams to me for. But we have 62 of you guys in here live with us. We appreciate you. 34 likes. Let's get that to 40. We appreciate you guys. Over 50% is obviously great. If you could hit that like button, though, we appreciate it. It always helps us out here. We got Kurt bringing a question in here. Thoughts on Jalen Polk receptions with Drake May coming in this week? I don't know if I want to take anything in that game. I literally took the dog shot on this game being so ugly. I don't want anything in it. I'd be curious what it's at. What do you have a Polk line? If you could, Kurt, drop that in there. Any thoughts on Polk? Obviously, 2 rookies. Assume they have a connection. Polk obviously played at Washington. We got Drake May, obviously being the big guy from North Carolina here. Any thoughts on this? I don't know if I want to touch anything in a rookie start.
Yeah, it's weird because I was higher on Polk coming out of college than most people were. But like then
Best ball, he got juice to the gills, bro.
I was gonna say we've gone a little bit too far here now. We're like he wasn't like a possession guy in college. I was Ben Polk, longest reception at 26 and a half. That's a college guy almost every game. That's why I liked him so much. He was this deep threat guy. Man, I think Drake May can throw a nice deep ball, by the way. Are they going to let him in game one? I would. Will the Patriots' conservative coaching staff? I hope so, but probably not. Like, I don't think we're going to see that many downfield opportunities. So I'd rather go with guys that I know are better possession guys on the team. A Douglas, a Henry, like some of these short yardage targets. Even I know it's disgusting. Even like a KJ Osborne for like 1.5 touches or something. I know.
That's greasy as fuck, bro. Holy, that made my skin crawl a little bit. That you even tried to say that name on here.
I'm just saying those are the kind of guys it's interesting. Polk's getting a lot of hype, but I think he's getting it from the same like the fantasy pros guy that have these average separation stats. I think these are the same people that loved him preseason and that's still showing up to this day, which isn't a slander on anyone else because he could be really good and they could be correct on him that you should be rating him this highly. But like I need to see it first, and there's just so much uncertainty that I'd rather go with a Demario Douglas, someone like that on the same team, if I had to kind of dumpster dive in this one. So pass from me on Polk. But maybe this is a coming out game. Maybe you just go 50 plus yards instead. I'd probably take a chance on the higher end outcome. That's the case for anything in this game. I'd rather take the money line than the spread. I'd rather take the alts than the singles because what you're doing is you're betting on Drake May to rise this team up above the worst O-line versus D-line mismatch of the week, right? So you're asking for an outlier performance pretty much no matter what if you want them to be competitive. I'd rather go a step further, decrease your bet size, bring it down a little bit, bring the risk way down, and just take some more shots on the plus money with all the uncertainty. That's generally how I would approach these ugly games. We just don't have enough lines where I haven't actually had a chance to bet them quite yet because I think it's only like Polk and a couple other guys. But that's how I view it, especially in games like this.
For sure. No, I like the breakdown there. Let's kind of talk. We got two more questions in here, guys. Obviously, we want to get to long shots. We're an hour already, so obviously we don't usually go too much longer than this, but we'll get you a couple more questions going in here. We have thoughts on a plus 120 with McBride. Jake Ferguson, I'm assuming that's who that is, at plus 120 for 5 catches each. I love Ferguson, bro. I always love Ferguson for receptions here. I'd be curious what the line is on McBride. I bought him down because Daniels' line was actually pretty nice for me at minus 220 in that spot. So I'd be curious if plus money. I'm always down. I'm always down for plus money, and I'm expecting the target shares to be there for both these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I know Eddie's one of our Bovada boys, I believe. So this is unfortunately reflected in the number. I was
going to say, shouldn't it be way higher than this?
Yeah, you can definitely get better numbers legal. But once again, I know the struggle. We've all been there before. I think it's this worth right here. Combo is worthy of a half unit. But you can definitely, like, if you have more options in market, I think you can do a lot better in terms of the pricing. But I like both. We obviously talked about liking both the guys. So.
Yes, sir. Let's get to the last one. Gibbs and Montgomery, 50 rushing yards each at plus 165. Thoughts, Stu? You got anything here? I always talk about Gibbs being more of a rushing receiving guy for me. I'd be curious what that line gives you on that. But any thoughts here at plus 165? I feel like that's pretty fair price on market for that one.
I like them both. Yeah, I play this. Just generally, I try not to parlay guys that take away from each other.
Yep,
guys are in direct competition of each other. It's kind of like I like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins this week. Well, you're going to need a pretty specific situation for that to happen. 15, not so much against a worse team, much more attainable. But yeah, slightly in, yes, but like not it's probably, I assume this is a 365 like bonus or something, or one of those like featured plays, so I don't think you can even bet much on it unless this. I don't know. I think it's okay. I'm not generally inclined to parlay guys for no reason. I don't know. That's a little harsh because I get you want to take advantage of both of them being used, but for me, I'd rather play them individually where you see more of the individual edge. That's a better answer.
Yeah, maybe like a Montgomery 50 and Goff under passing yards or something. You know what I mean? Like something like that. I know, same game like that. Last thing, Brian, just been a long time guy of the show. We got to get to his thoughts on longest rush against Cleveland being higher than Derrick Henry's is this week. Worth a look still for Saquon. Obviously, he's been amazing with the Eagles here. You expect A.J. Brown back. We expect Devontae Smith back. maybe some more holes here against this Cleveland defense. Any thoughts here, Sue? I know it's still a brutal matchup. And this, I mean, half the time the Eagles probably only have to go 10 yards to score a touchdown because, my God, they're probably turning the ball over on their own 10. So, I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and Saquon, not to the extent that Henry is, but another one of these more of a home run hitter kind of guys, right? Can kind of have these huge runs that kind of bolster him up a little bit. And Cleveland's a good matchup. 19.5, though, like I said,
a big boy number, dude. That's a big boy number.
I've never seen him cross 20 for NFL that I can remember. So like 19 is there. It's the highest you can pretty much get in my opinion. That's kind of the ceiling. So I like it, but that's a little trickier for me. I was even considering just going to yards because once again, like I'm just big on taking advantage of like Deshaun Watson's pathetic. Like they're gonna roll him, but like there's I don't know off a bye week like AJ Brown could just go 10 for 270 just for fun. Like like this team's like man coverage single high. Like there's a lot of opportunities in this one, so I do like it, but like the number just kind of scared me away a little bit right here. I do think Saquon has a good game, but it's a weird week where I'm looking across the board and I like the chalk running backs in all these games. Like I'm like, does my card really want to be Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, and Josh Jacobs all this week over like 70 yards? Because I like them all. I actually see an edge on every one of them, but consistently getting to those high numbers is something that's really tricky in the NFL. So, that's my thought.
One of them is going to not get there, right? I don't think the NFL is allowed to give you that much talk to win. I mean, Debo hits his stuff, Kittle hits his stuff, Geno hits his stuff, and Jordan Mason has to get hurt, right? I mean, like, that's how it goes, bro. Like, all the chalk was hitting until they pulled Jordan Mason the entire second half. It's just kind of like that spot. So let's do a quick recap, Sue, and we'll get to some long shots. Let's get it going.
Sounds good. We got Zach Ertz, 3 catches, Jake Ferguson, 4 catches. My first one of these little combo plays of the year, minus 105 over on FanDuel. Then we got my favorite play of the week. We got Derrick Henry, longest rush, over 16.5, minus 115 DraftKings. Fully comfortable at 17.5. And even if it gets to 18.5 by the end of the week, we're going over on 18.5 as well. Big fan of Derrick Henry in this matchup.
Beautiful. I'll be rolling with big boy Dak Prescott at home against the Lions today. I'll be rolling with him in the primetime game in the late slot, over 279 passing yards. I'm going with Jaden Daniels, 200 passing yards, and Trey McBride, 4 catches. Stu, what's on your mind here for a long shot? What are we rolling with in this spot as we approach the end of the show?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different things I like. I don't know if we're talking like touchdown parlay. I've got another like not so like long odds touchdown, but I really like a lot. Like I love it for a touchdown parlay, which for me is J.K. Dobbins, a plus 145 this week on DraftKings, similar to Deontay the other week. I know it's not like the best odds, but if we are just talking touchdown parlays, building out stuff like that, I like Dobbins a lot, even in a low scoring, ugly, disgusting game. Like, I think he's a great touchdown target guy this week. I personally paired him up with Jake Ferguson, who's sitting at, I don't know what the best price is right now. I can check real quick. I played him with Ferguson, and I even got a little crazy and went with a guy that we talked about earlier in the show, a little Tank Bigsby at 245 as well, and a nice like 3-leg parlay. The best on Ferguson is plus 215 right now as well. So those are the 2 guys I parlayed together. But even in this ugly, slow game script, I'm a big fan of Dobbins off the bye week. Man, I don't think you can pass on this Denver team very well. I really don't. I think it's going to have to be on the ground. We've seen them rip off explosive plays at a high rate. The O-line has hopefully gotten healthier off of the bye week. We don't have 100% certainty yet, but it's looking like Slater should be in there, the alt in there. Like, man, I like Dobbins in this one a lot. He was going strong to end the season. So I don't know if this really counts as like a long shot. Once again, I don't know. Like, I know a lot of people build the TD parlays. I know we do on here sometimes. So I wanted to make sure I at least got this out there as like one of the plus money plays I like. I don't know. What do you want today?
Yeah, and I think it kind of relates to what you were saying a little bit. I'm going to be lame and just take Dak top passing yards on FanDuel at plus 370. I like a lot of these backs too this week, right? A lot of these guys that have had the explosive ceiling. This is for Sunday only, by the way. So that takes away, obviously, Josh Allen, which is a big guy. That takes out Mahomes, right? He's already gone. So takes a lot of those big guys out. We have a couple bye weeks this week as well. But just like looking at these guys that I'm like nervous about, right? The guys that I'm nervous about, we've seen huge upside games from Baker Mayfield this year. He's playing the Saints, who might score 4 points. this week. You look at teams that I like to take against. I like taking against Indy. I ain't taking Will Levis. That's for damn sure. I always like fading the Indy defense, but I'm not taking Will Levis. And you go, CJ Stroud's been having these huge games. Now you get to face Drake May, and they're probably going to be playing from ahead in these games. And I'm just looking up and down this list, like none of these teams outside of Goff against the Cowboys, which I think Montgomery's going to cook, and I think Gibbs is going to cook. 370. I mean, I really like the spot for him being the top guy when they're not going to be able to run it, right? I still think that you look up and down this list, there's not another team that going to have that much on the shoulders of their quarterback than Dak Prescott this week. He's at home. He's in a home game too. I'm obviously taking the 279, but every team, every fade, every top guy that I like in this market, usually I can poke holes in it. I can't poke a hole in Dak Prescott's spot here. And then obviously you look at the other guys, and the other guy's like plus 800 is the second guy. So they're obviously giving them shit odds, but I think they're doing that for a reason so they don't just get absolutely just nuked.
Yeah. Does this involve the London game as well, by the way? Or no? I
think it just said Sunday only. It's on their weekly specials, Sunday only.
Because I was just curious. Just like, Lawrence against banged up defense, maybe with being behind all game or something, but that's not a big deal at all. I was just curious. I do like to play. Obviously, we're both on Dak this week. You obviously more than I am, definitely, but obviously in together on a couple of those props. So I'm definitely in on this. We already covered it pretty much in detail earlier in the show. Great rush defense, a lot of passing. Man, I normally don't play anything in these markets under like 20 to 1. I'm not gonna lie. Like these are the markets I only go to just bet full on crazy long shots, for like $5 or $10. So I'm not used to laying the heavy money, but I do see the huge upside here. And I guess honestly, your biggest competition is probably like Lamar, but Lamar could run for 100 here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you have Derrick Henry. Like he has Rico Dowdle. That's who he gets to rely on. Derrick Henry could go for 200, right? Because like if you take it, I'm assuming if we did like a top rushing, Derrick Henry's probably the top one, right? If you did like a top rushing on Sunday, you'd have to assume Derrick Henry's number one on that list, right? For running backs?
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah. Unless you think, and I do think that this defense is not great, but do you think they're giving up like 600 yards of total offense? Because I could see Dak going for 350. Like I can see Derrick Henry going for 150, but if he goes for 150, he's scoring tutties too. You know what I mean? So it's like it's tough. Like I hate usually taking the lowest odds on these, but every other one I just look at it.
Because even I'm looking at too CJ Stroud, a guy easily, but I mean Patriots.
That's always my dude.
Exactly. Like, and not even been playing that route. Jordan Love, like he could be the guy, but I just don't see that game being fast enough. Like,
no, it won't, and they're going to be up early in that game.
Yeah, a lot of Josh Jacobs. Honestly, Josh Jacobs to lead the slate in rushing could be even though loving Derrick Henry, the odds are probably going to be pretty good, I'd imagine. So definitely agree though. Like the spot. I'm trying to see, like, I want to give people a better long shot here. My odds aren't that great, but do you have a touchdown you like? Do you want to complete the touchdown parlay by any chance? Throw in anything you're looking at. I did see a special real quick. If you are looking on DraftKings, you can get Jaden Daniels or Lamar Jackson to have a first half rushing touchdown at plus 130. I thought that was kind of good. High octane offensive game. I don't think you can parlay that. That's more just a for fun kind of thing. In the first half, I'm going to be watching, I laid down the little max $50 on that or whatever as well. So I don't know if you have any touchdowns stuck out to you. For me,
I mean, if we're going lower odds, I'd probably just take Jacobs at minus 120. Like,
is he minus?
Yeah. But like, I don't know how he doesn't score inside the 5-yard line in this game with the Packers team total where it's at. Like the amount of pass interference that we do get a lot of pass interferences at home. I will give them that, even though I'm trying not to be super biased, but I've been to enough games to know. But I wouldn't mind throwing Jacobs in that line with Dobbins there.
Sounds good. Well, I mean, hey, and like I said, I like Ferguson too, but I hate double dipping on the same guy. Or I like Ferguson at 220, 210, or whatever it is right now. I thought it'd be like 170, honestly. Again, with this rush defense, 150, 170. So shout out Jake Ferguson. And even the legend himself, Tank Bigsby. How about you score a touchdown? How about you cash my plus 245 ticket? Then we can take the damn screenshot after the show. That's what we'll be celebrating, baby. Let's go, Tank Bigsby.
I wouldn't take him for anything under like 500 as like the number 2 back, bro. ETN's playing, bro. He did. I just got my fantasy alert.
It's not my concern. We're talking.
Did you give me my odds? Hey, did you give me my odds on this?
What do you mean?
Josh Jacobs and Dobbins together. That's what I thought you were doing. Now we're talking scrub.
I was definitely
literally thought that's what you were doing. Now you're talking scrubs.
No, I'm talking shit. I was not going to help at all. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can put that together real quick. Let's see. Jacobs is -120 over on FanDuel.
Yep. I don't know what the other odds are. I didn't shop. I was only on FanDuel today.
Sounds good. Wilson added in Pollard to his over there. We didn't talk Pollard. I don't mind Pollard. I have to say he's in a pretty good spot today. But we didn't talk about that game at all because
there's probably a reason. I don't want to touch any game with Will Levis and this shithole team and Colts.
All right, let's see. Let's lock this in right here. Touchdown Dobbins. It's 326 over on DraftKings. It's going to be your best price right now. 300 MGM, 314, 365. So if you got any of those books, those are best prices. I just wanted to get this in here. I know I like Jacobs a lot. We haven't done the touchdown parlays much as well. So love Dobbins in this one. Love my guy Ferguson. Love Tank Bigsby. But I wanted to hear what you had. I wanted to go lock one in at the casino this weekend for past the prop. Feels good.
Yeah, well, it's probably because we've been hitting fucking plus 600 like long shots here too. So long shots are going to be Josh Jacobs, J.K. Dobbins touchdown parlay, and I'll be on Dak. Top passing yards of Sunday. Stu, anything else for the people here before we head out? We still got 60 live viewers here with us.
Yeah, make sure we get some likes on this video. I've been told likes are very good for the YouTube algorithm. Once again, haven't done any actual analysis on this. I'm just going to believe the consensus. So would really appreciate you guys leaving likes. We're getting to like 1,000 views. I feel like we should be able to get to 100 likes. Like that's a good ratio. We're at the 70s. That's okay. That's solid. Minor league numbers. We're putting up major league numbers on our end. You guys got to help us out a little bit here. Just a little bit. It's free. We do talk for an hour 16. There was a random 20-minute Tank Bigsby section. That's what you get here. That's the price you pay sometimes. But we're winning fucking bets. So that should make up for it at the end of the day because that's what we come here to do. That's what we work hard to do. And that's what we're excited to do. That's why we get fired up. That's why we have fun doing this. So appreciate seeing all the familiar faces, all the positive comments. We don't miss those. We really do appreciate it. It's great motivation to keep on, coming back here every week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Love seeing you guys in the chat. Love the picks today. Feeling very, very good about continuing that momentum.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As always, we appreciate all you guys popping in and joining us on your Friday afternoon. As always, if you have questions outside of here, I know some of you guys can't make it live. Drop them in the comment section. We usually get to everything, or at least try to, before the Sunday slate kicks off. But yeah, we have a ton of action ready for you guys today. And as always, if you could hit that like button, we appreciate it. We will see you guys on Monday. Hoping this run continues, man. I'm hoping this continues, and we can cash some more of these long shots as well. So thank you guys. Best of luck this weekend, and we'll catch you guys on Monday, normal time, ready to roll. Have a good one, guys. Best of luck.